What's bubbling, magical people? Welcome back to the Witching Hour with Miss Merlin, where we like to talk about all things witchy and magical. Your one-stop source for everything spellcasting, ascension, healing, deities, mediumship, psychic gifts, spirituality, chakras, plant medicine, and much, much more. I'm Kimmy, aka Miss Merlin, High Priestess and Shamaness, Medicine Woman, Psychic Medium, and Witch Extraordinaire. So let's jump on into it. Today we are going to discuss the Greek pantheon. Now, a couple episodes back, I talked about Hecate and Persephone. So if you want to learn a little bit more about those beautiful and powerful goddesses, please feel free to go back and watch that episode. I'm not going to be getting too much into their stories today. Actually, I don't think Hecate is mentioned in my notes for today. The Greek pantheon is really big. And there's sub-gods and demigods, and there's a lot. And then there's other beings involved too. There's like nymphs and half creatures, like minotaurs and centaurs and other kind of mythical creatures. So it's really a complicated, interwoven one to go through. So we're going to kind of start small, and I'm going to walk you through it the best way that I can. All right. With, the appropriate information, for just the information that you need, so we can move on to the next level about what we want to really learn about here. Now, I did get an email from someone who had asked me what the definition, they had heard me mention neo-pagan before, and they were curious as to what that meant and how it differs from Wicca, and what are some of the other classifications, I guess, if you will, of witchcraft. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. So I just want to say that pagan or paganism, historically, or being a heathen, was a term used by early Christians to refer to those who practice religions outside of Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, and Islam. So it's important to understand that witchcraft is a very broad term, and the ways that it is practiced vary significantly where you go, and depending on what the personal witch believes themselves. So there isn't really one universal agreed upon classification, but there are some breakdowns of commonly recognized branches, if you will, or approaches, and these are mostly Western, okay? Because those are the ones that I'm familiar with right now. All right, so the first one is, if you had to put me in a box and give me a label, I would be an eclectic pagan. All right, so eclectic paganism is a form of modern paganism characterized by its flexible and personalized approach. It blends traditions. It draws inspiration from various pagan traditions, as well as other spiritual and philosophical sources. So this means that you might incorporate elements from Celtic, Norse, Greek, or any other pagan belief system, and potentially combine them with other aspects of philosophical or spiritual beliefs. So a key feature of eclectic paganism is the emphasis on the individual experience and the intuition. Practicers often create their own unique spiritual path, selecting and adapting beliefs and practices that resonate the most with them, or the deities that resonate the most with them. Like, you don't have to know all of them. There's way too many. If you're just starting out, that is very overwhelming. All right, so don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. You don't have to be an expert going in. All right, that is our ego talking. All right, everybody starts somewhere. Everybody learns from some place, okay? So you got to give yourself some grace. All right, so trusting your intuition, very important with this one. It's flexible It's not, as structured as the other pagan traditions. So eclectic paganism tends to be less rigid, and there's genuinely fewer sets of rules or dogmas, if you will, allowing for greater freedom of expression and exploration of different deities and things that you find interesting and things that resonate within your own energy and make you feel good, right? About what you're doing, because that's the most important thing, right? We are doing this as a form of self-care. All right, that is the biggest root reason, right? Because we're finding ourselves on a path or a belief system that resonates with us individually. And that is the basis for self-care, right? Allowing ourselves to be individuals. All right. So essentially, it's the creation of a personal pagan path where they choose the aspects of what you want to incorporate, like I mentioned. So whatever you find meaningful, drawing from a wide range of sources. Okay, that's the beauty of it. The world is open to you, so you can really pull from anything that really resonates within your soul, within your spirit. All right. So then the neo-paganism, it refers to a collection of modern practices to revive or draw inspiration from the pre-Christian or pre-patriarchy, indigenous and nature-based spiritual traditions. So it's contemporary phenomenon. It's not a continuation of any ancient practice. It involves a reconstructing and or adapting of the historical belief and rituals to modern context. So it's very nature-centered as well. So strong emphasis on the sacredness of the earth, nature, the cycles, the celebration of the seasons, and the interconnectedness of all living things. So the neo-paganism is also polytheistic. Okay, so that means that that you worship multiple deities, okay, of multiple genders. Okay, so many neo-pagan paths recognize and worship multiple deities, as I just mentioned. And the deities often originate from various ancient pantheons like Celtic, Norse, or Greek. Very diverse practice. It encompasses a wide range of traditions, so very, very, very close to eclectic paganism. Okay, but more leaning towards Wicca, Druidry. Also, heathenism as well, which I mentioned. Heathen just means non-religious, non-organized religion. So neo-pagans focus on the belief and practices of pre-Christian Europe, as I mentioned, pre-patriarchy, before they came in and swept over and took everything and tried to make everybody believe the same thing. People are easier to control that way. So in essence, neo-paganism represents a diverse and evolving landscape of modern spirituality, connecting with ancient and earth-honoring kind of views and practices. All right, and that brings us to Wicca. So Wicca is also classified as a pagan practice with its focus on nature, lots of deities, and ritual magic. Now, there's also ritual magic involved in neo-paganism and eclectic paganism. It just depends on what you're using at the time, what you're doing at the time. So it has its own internal divisions, Wicca does, such as the Gardnerian and Alexandrian Wicca. Okay, so the founder, quote unquote, is last name was Gardner. So that's the Gardnerian. Okay. So it's nature-centered spirituality. They hold a deep reverence for nature and the earth. They celebrate the cycles, the changes of seasons, solstices, equinoxes, also polytheism, so recognizing multiple deities of multiple genders. Wicca typically involves the worship of a goddess and a god together as complementary forces. So They view working with the natural energies to achieve the desired outcomes. Rituals play a significant role in Wicca's spiritual practices. And there is a high ethical principle, all right, if you are calling yourself a Wiccan. So it's the harm none, do what you will, with the emphasis on personal responsibility and avoiding harm. Basically, what goes around comes around. But also, there is instilled in there, depending on who you talk to and who you follow, okay, there's also the rule of 3, right? So that everything that you do comes back to you times 3. All right. So then it's relatively a new practice. It was developed in England during the mid-20th century, again, by Gerald Gardner. So that's where the Gardnerian comes from. And I just want to say there, again, with like the rule of 3 and the harmony none and stuff, and, you know, there's classifications for people who practice quote unquote black magic. All right. But I'm just going to tell you right now, and I've done an episode on this as well. You're not given power if you're going to use it to try to suppress or control others or cause negative things to happen to them. And a lot of times, like, you don't know who you're messing with on a spiritual level. I'm going to use myself as an example. Lots of people, you know, take me the wrong way, and that's fine. I'm not everybody's cup of tea because I am ayahuasca. All right. So I'm a very acquired taste. So there is a lot of people that I put off. And when I do speak about how you can't really control others with magic and love spells aren't a thing, you know, that's not a possible thing to do. People get mad, you know, especially those ones who charge for love spells or for nefarious magic and things like that, or for people who are very much in their ego and just want power and control over others and believe that they can cause harm and things like that. So I've had a lot of things targeted at me, and like, believe me, you don't want to do that. I'm just going to use for a spell, just as an example. There has been a couple of people who have tried to put me in jars, put me in a freezer, or whatever other nefarious things, rusty nails, broken glass, so to speak. Like, my guides are right the frig on top of you. So I don't know why you're bothering. Because I know about it. That's my number one clair that I have. I have all 5. But my number 1 is claircognizance, psychic knowing. I just know stuff. I don't know why I know stuff. I know where it comes from. But it is accurate. And believe me, I know about the jar before you close the lid. And it's already returned to sender. So you're really just casting a spell against yourself. And that's what you're doing, really, if you're trying to do something negative to someone else. Because we are gifted free will. The gods and goddesses don't step on the free will. So why would they allow a human who's having a temporary emotion to control or disrupt someone else's life? Because, again, they're having a temporary human emotion, right? That comes from emotional immaturity. Because you don't know how to regulate, right? So I have to project that. I have to make it someone else's fault. I have to push hate. I have to make them pay. Vengeance, blah. You know, all those nasty energies. You are just surrounding yourself with more of that. You know, like a thick, foggy cloud. It's not going anywhere. You're not going to succeed with what you want to do. You know, you're just going to end up more frustrated because whoever you are targeting is probably going to get more blessed. Just because of the situation. So just not a good practice to get into. But again, to each their own. Everybody has to figure these things out for themselves. And again, I get a lot of pushback And a lot of people bring their ego into it and, oh yeah, want to bet? And that happens a lot. And they'll throw something at me because they have to prove something. But, like, I'm sorry, but it's just going to hurt your ego when it doesn't work and you realize that I'm correct. Once you get to a certain consciousness, like, you understand that, like, free will, we have that. So why would another human be able to control that? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. All right, so back to some more of the classifications. So there's traditional witchcraft. So this often refers to practices that aim to reconnect with older pre-Wiccan forms of witchcraft, often drawing from folklore or regional traditions. So it can definitely vary, specifically based on location. All right, and ancestry, wherever the person is going, whatever, they're looking for, whatever path they're on. There's hereditary witchcraft. So practices passed down through family lines, often with unique rituals and belief systems based on those practices. There's green witchcraft, focusing on nature, herbs, plant magic, plant medicine. And again, these classifications, you don't have to put yourself in one box, okay? Or give yourself a label. I hate that. And I never want to do that to people, right? You could be more than one of these things or all of them. Okay, so again, you don't have to just throw yourself into one of these categories. Just a question that I am answering because someone was curious. All right, so kitchen witchcraft incorporates magic into everyday activities, particularly cooking and housekeeping. We have hedge witchcraft, which involves working with spirits, exploring altered states of consciousness. Okay, maybe working with some fun mushrooms. That often falls into that classification. So there's also cosmic witchcraft. So focusing on astrology, working with energies of the planets and the stars and your birth chart, your houses, all of those fun things. Sea witchcraft, working with the energies of the ocean and the spirits that reside in it, the animal spirits, the plant spirits, all the different fun things that are in the ocean. So again, we have important considerations that the lines between these branches can be very blurry. And many practitioners incorporate elements from multiple paths. And again, I personally never ever like to slap a label on someone because you could be more than one thing. Witchcraft, quote unquote, itself has a very complex history and its meaning has evolved over time. So it's very important to remember that there's many different cultural views and practices surrounding the whole world of witchcraft as a whole. And the above list, again, that I just talked about is primarily focused on Western practices because at this time, that is what I'm most familiar with. Okay. And I don't want to come to you guys and give you like half-assed information. I like to know what I am talking about. And that actually, vulnerable moment, that comes from wounding. Because, as I've talked about before, I am ADHD. So in school and stuff like that, I just wasn't there. I just disassociated. So, people just assume things. So I would also get challenged a lot by when I would speak up because I had a powerful voice for a very tiny girl at the time. And that, as a lot of women out there will know, automatically puts certain men off and they just want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Punish you, just for existing. So anyways, because of that, and because of some things that I've been through with that, I don't open my mouth until I am damn sure that I know what I'm talking about. So again, I will get into some more stuff when I get there. I just, again, want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the best information for you and for my inner little. So let's get into the Greek pantheon now. This is some crazy stuff. If you guys have never heard or looked into a lot of Greek mythology and stuff like that, like, it is some crazy, crazy shit. I think there's a lot of debaucherous things in a lot of different pantheons, right? But I would have to say that the Greek pantheon would have to be the winner of the debauchery contest, because Zeus, who I'm sure everyone has heard of in one way, shape, or form, was really disgusting and deplorable. He really was. And we're going to talk about that. All right. So, is the Greek pantheon still worshipped? As we've discussed in some pagan traditions, there are Greek gods and goddesses that are recognized there. As a whole, the Greek religion no longer exists, and it's no longer the dominant religion in Greece either, okay? But like I said, the practice of worshiping some of these gods and goddesses is still there in some of the branches. So we have this as the Hellenic polytheism, which this is the modern revival of the ancient Greek religious practices. So the followers aim to reconstruct and practice the ancient religion of the Greeks, honoring the Olympian gods and other deities. So it involves rituals, festivals, and ethical practices inspired by ancient sources. These groups exist in various places around the world. So that one is like more rigid to ancient Greek like religion. And then there's the more modern practice, which is, again, polytheistic, which multiple deities of multiple genders. So they gather in groups or practice individually. So you could have covens, all right? That's what it means when I say gather in groups. There's an emphasis on hospitality and respect for the gods, the goddesses, and nature, and as well as any elementals, okay? The fae, mer people, nymphs, those kind of things. All right. Relatively small group of people practice this modern Hellenic polytheistic, but very active. And it is a movement that is growing, actually. So let's talk about the creation story, okay? How it starts for the Greeks. So there is chaos, okay? Chaos, like chaos theory, right? So this is spelt K-A-O-S or K-H-O-S, or you get the modern spelling of it, which is the C-H-A-O-S. So this is the beginning. Chaos is like the void, okay? So some say chaos is a deity. Some say it's just like creation in itself. But it's the beginning, okay? So chaos there, and chaos itself gives birth to what is known as the primordials. So the first daughter that is given birth to is Gaia. And Gaia is bestowed with the creation power of chaos. So Gaia was given a choice of any form that she wanted to take. And, of course, she chose the earth. So why is she a woman? So the duality of the mother energy is needed. Okay, supporting, nurturing the life on the planet, but also there's a vengefulness there, right? And like scolding from Mama Gaia, right? And then second was the sun. And this is Tartarus. Very, very, very different from Gaia. Lonely and dark, twisted, shattered soul, evil, okay? And Tartarus burrowed to the center of Gaia, so to the center of the earth, and began creating his realm there, which is very hell-like, okay? His shattered, twisted soul mirrored what he was creating, and his fate was set within his realm, which was a place of confinement, punishment, dismay, despair, all the yucky stuff, all the terrible emotions. All right. And then there was created a third son. Now, these deities were created as full-grown deities. Okay. So they didn't like be created as babies and grow. Okay. So we have Eros. So this is the will to live, to create, to be, and most importantly, to love. So a very, very counter energy to his very spiteful brother Tartarus. Eros is more influential in any other of the primordial forces. So many curse his name, yet so many will not find peace without him, for none can live without love. And then there was the fourth, another daughter, and this was Nyx, the night goddess. And then she created her husband, or her counterpart, who is also like a god of darkness, okay, as well. And again, full grown. So they were the first set of like divine lovers, okay, or counterparts, right? So their union created the offspring of Gaia. All right. So then Gaia herself creates, seeing this union between these two, she wants that. So she creates her equal, her counterpart, her husband, Uranus, which is the sky, all right, the heavens. And then she created the mountains, Yoria, and then Pontus, the Lord of the Seas. So the first offspring of Gaia and Uranus didn't go so good. Ended up being 3 hectonic Uries, the 50-headed, 100-handed ones. Insane, right? And their power was way too much for them. And then came 3 Cyclops. The Cyclops with the one eye, very mighty. So Uranus despised them, even though he was their father. He hunted them down and took them to Tartarus. And he placed a dragon at the door to guard them. So he locked up his kids. He's like, yep, don't like you. Don't like how you turned out. It's not my aesthetic vibe. So I'm locking you away forever. Nice, right? Okay. So then, together, Gaia gives birth to the Titans. Okay, so I'm sure that somewhere you have heard that word before, Titans. The Titans are powerful entities that shaped the early cosmos. The Titans, 12 in number, according to the Hesiod. Now, where Greek mythology is concerned, like I said, it is very intricate, it's very twisted, it's very turny, it's very spiderwebby with everything. And there's a lot of different sources that say a lot of different things Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that you really need to kind of decipher through. Okay, and Hesiod is the oldest and kind of the most respected writer in this area. But again, like I said, there's conflicting things with a lot of stuff. But according to Hesiod, the central figures of Greek mythology representing various aspects of nature and existence, their stories intertwine with the fabric of the whole narrative of this mythology. Like I said, very, very spiderwebby, showcasing their influence over the gods, over mortals, the humans, and the natural world. So the importance of the Titans is very, very immense. They served as a bridge between the primordial force of creation and the pantheon gods that followed, that you guys are probably familiar with some of them. So they each embodied various elemental forces and aspects of existence. And some of the key ones and their attributes are, you probably heard of Kronos. It's the leader of the Titans, associated with time and the harvest. He famously overthrew his father. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, there's lots of... Okay, his story's weird. Because he did some overthrowing, which we're going to talk about. Right? We talked about the overthrowing his father there. But later, he fell victim to being overthrown by his own son, Zeus. And then we have Rhea, the sister and wife, gross, of Kronos. So she's the goddess of fertility and motherhood. She's known for her role in saving her children from Kronos. And I'll explain that in a minute. All right. And then we have Okeanos. So it's spelt in English, ocean us. Okay. So this is the Titan of the ocean. He represents the vastness of the sea and is often depicted as a river encircling the earth. And then we have Tethys, the sister of Okeanos and goddess of nourishing flow of water. She personifies the fertile and nurturing aspects of the sea. All right. And then we have Hyperion, the Titan of light, often associated with the sun. Also the father of Helios, which is the sun, and Selene, the moon. And also Eos, the dawn. Then we have Thea, the sister of Hyperon, and the goddess of sight. She's often connected with precious metal and the divine light of the heavens. All right. So we talked a little bit about Nyx, right? The goddess of night. And she created her equal, her counterpart, Erebus. So Nyx is a very, very unique goddess. She is very worshipped still today. Very, very popular. She can impact mankind in a good or bad way. Her ability to bring sleep or death onto the human race. She is the goddess of night and darkness. Nyx and Erebus together, darkness personified. They together first had two daughters, Amarha, day, representing day, and Aether. So almost like ether, okay? Light and sky's light, okay? Amarha is Nyx's opposite. So Nyx brought the dark veil over the night, while her daughter chased away the dark each morning. So this is how the Greeks explained that, okay? So Nyx, on her own, created other children, okay, without her husband, okay? And it doesn't really say how she did that. She just did. So she must have also been blessed with chaos's creation gifts. So first we have the Mire. Okay, so this is a smaller group of children for Nyx. So the Mire, which you guys would probably know as the Fates. So the Mire were three sisters, Atropos, Clotho, and Lachesis. And working together with the threads of mortals. They would weave them together, plan out the lives from the cradle to the grave, pretty much. Everything went through the Fates. And then we have Hypnos. Amongst the most famous of all the children of Nyx was Hypnos, the Greek god of sleep. Hypnos, so spelt in English, it's Hypno, so hypno, right? Name, of course, is from hypnosis in the English, right? In Greek mythology, Hypnos was considered to be a companion of his mother, bringing rest each night to the mortals, the humans. And, as such, the people in Tartarus. And he lived there, too, in a cave near his mother. In the underworld. Tartarus was a part of the underworld. All right, and then we have Thanatos. So Hypnos had a twin brother in the form of Thanatos. It's the Greek god of death. Okay, so specifically the Greek god of non-violent death. For violent death, that was more someone else's dominion. We'll get into that. And then we have Ares, another famous child of Nyx, and she was a goddess, Greek goddess of strife and discord. Ares would be particularly associated with the Trojan War. Many versions of the story, Ares was in fact to blame for the war. And then we have Isis, another daughter of Nyx. The goddess Isis was the goddess of misery and suffering, so not very nice. Then we have Philotis, was the daughter of Nyx, who stood out from the majority of her other siblings. For Philotis was the Greek goddess of friendship and affection, so completely the opposite side of the spectrum from most of her siblings. Then we have Yaris, who was the sun. Yaris is the personification of old age. Normally portrayed as a decrepit old man, Yaris showed virtue of achieving old age and the pain of infirmity that ultimately came with it. Yeah, not very nice. But they're kind of meant to be darker. The thing is, it's not something that was created because it was wanted, but it was created because it was needed, if that makes sense. All right. So then we have Moros. Okay. So sounds like morose, right? Personification of doom. The god who drove men to death. Ooh. That often the fates had planned for them. Moros might as well have overrun the earth, but for the fact that hope remained when all the evils escaped from Pandora's box. So Moros has something to do with Pandora's box. And there is one story, I'm not going to get into it because it's too long. And we're not going to go down that side quest, not today. But anyways, that a whole bunch, basically all the evil escaped from Pandora's box, but there was still hope. So this energy, Moros, didn't get to overrun the earth like they wanted to. Okay. And then we have Mamas, also a son, who originally did not live near his mother. He was instead raised up on Mount Olympus. Mamas, though, was a Greek god of ridicule and scorn. So Mamas soon was expelled from Mount Olympus, as you might gather. by Zeus, because Zeus has a huge ego, and if he was like poking fun at Zeus, yeah, he would have lasted a good 5.5 seconds. So Mamas had made fun of some of the other gods as well, so not very popular. Zeus cast him out. See you later. All right, and then we have Nemesi, spelt Nemesis, okay, daughter of the Greek goddess of retribution. This was another daughter of Nyx who would work with Zeus. For Nemesis ensured there was a balance to the cosmos, where no man was supposed to be too happy or too sad or too lucky or too unlucky. All right. And then we have the Keres. Alongside the 1,000 sons, Nyx was also the mother to a group of 1,000 daughters. The Keres. The Keres were the goddesses of violent and cruel deaths. Thus, the Keres were often found upon battlefields, whereupon epidemics may be broken, also seen fighting over souls of the deceased. So, kind of like the Valkyries in Norse pantheon, but a little more crazy. And then we have Onmini, okay? So Nyx was said to be the mother of 1,000 sons, who I just mentioned, right? We had the 1,000 daughters and the 1,000 sons. All right. So named the Onmini, the Greek gods of dreams, who would work hand in hand with Hypnos, right? Every night. They would emerge from the underworld and enter the thoughts of sleeping mortals. And it would depend upon which exit from the underworld that they left from, which type of dream that poor mortal would have. Would it be pleasant or would it be a nightmare? All depends where they left from. That sucks. And then we have Hesperides. So according to the Hesiod, again, the beautiful Hesperides were also daughters of Nyx, normally coming in the number of 3. The Hesperides were the goddesses of evening and sunset, and were logically linked with night, also because sunset. The beauty of these nymphs was not necessarily in keeping with the majority of the other children. So the other children were like weird. Like I said, when they were created, they were created out of necessity, not want. So a lot of them are depicted not so nicely, in a not so nice way. But not the Hesperides, okay? Very, very beautiful. And it is also in some writings too. The Hesperides are actually the daughters of Atlas. So, in some writings. Again, it depends where you look. There is so much conflicting information. It is really, really hard to kind of wade your way through it. All right. And then also, Nyx, of course, was responsible for the creation of certain demons, including Anavea, which was ruthlessness, and Epiale, nightmares, Alici, death, Araya, curses, Aphastaras, blood, Aporia, want, Manii, madness. Eurynomos was a flesh-eating demon. And then we had Gnosi, which was the plague. So, not very nice things, again. And I'm doing my best to pronounce these properly. And if I don't, I apologize. I mean absolutely no offense by it whatsoever. All right. So, Nyx lived, again, in Tartarus, the place of torment, suffering, and darkness. So, pretty much like Christian hell. Funnily enough, she is not exactly the personification of evil in Greek mythology. She's never spoken of having done anything more quote unquote evil than Zeus himself. And like I told you, like Zeus is diabolical. We're going to get into that. Because of her mysterious and dark nature, many see her, though, as more of a villain figure than she appears to be. And this is also patriarchy. Patriarchy always paints these goddesses that have anything to do with darkness. Automatic association to evil. Ugh, it's so ick. All right, so she delivers prophecies to Zeus. And she is described as a nurse of the gods. So there also may have been separate figures named Night as well. So in ancient Greek art, Nyx often appears alongside other celestial deities such as Selene, again, the moon, Helios, the sun, and Eos, the dawn, as a winged figure driving a horse-pulled chariot. Though of little cultic importance, she was also associated with several oracles. The Romans referred to her as Nox, which is also the translation for night. So the best time if you want to work with Nyx, because I said, like, she's still a very, very popular goddess to work with. She's great. And again, not evil. So the best time to connect with her, of course, would be like right now. Okay. We have that blood moon eclipse that just happened. All right. So full moon, best time to connect with her. And if you want to really connect with her energy, moonstone. All right. Also. Okay, so let's talk about the Titans again. Okay, so the familial relationships among the Titans were very intricate. Like I said, very web weaving, with many forming alliances, lots of rivalries that would definitely shape this mythological landscape. The Titans represent aspects of the natural world, but they also embody the struggles for power and control that define so much of Greek mythology. Like it's all ego. It really is. If you really get down to it and look at the stories, like some of them are absolutely disgusting. We're going to get into that. Anyways, the reign of the Titans is often referred to as the Golden Age. A time characterized by peace, prosperity, the absence of conflict. During this era, the Titans ruled the cosmos, shaped the world, and humanity according to their will. Their governance is depicted as a time when the earth was very, very abundant, and the natural order was in complete balance and harmony. They played a crucial role in the creation of the world and of mankind. According to myth, they were very involved in various acts of creation, including the formation of land, sea, and the first beings. Each Titan was associated with a different element, giving rise to the diverse aspects of our natural world. For example, Okeanos, so Oceanus, right? And Tethys were responsible for rivers and nurturing waters, so working together in that department. Then we have Hyperion, and Thea. Together, they embodied the celestial bodies illuminating the sky, so creating astrology as we know it. So the Titans symbolize primordial force, the raw power of nature, the universe itself. The presence in myths reflects the ancient Greeks' understanding of the world around them, where natural phenomena came from, where they attributed seasonal changes to, things like that, right? As we talked about in the story of Persephone, just really quickly, as most people are familiar, she was taken to the underworld and became Hades' mate. Okay, much debate on the story itself. But anyways, so that's where she is. I just forgot where I was going with that. I'm so sorry. reflects the seasonal changes. So when Persephone was taken, right, her mother Demeter finds out about it. She's very sad. Persephone can't come back. Of course, she's Hades' mate now. And so Demeter, who is the goddess of agriculture, farming, all of that stuff, she makes the land all barren and everything because she's so upset. They come to a deal. Persephone can spend time with Demeter a few months of the year, and then she goes back in the fall. So explaining the seasonal changes, right? The land is all barren and you can't grow anything and all that during the winter time. And then in the spring, summer, we have that beautiful harvest again because Demeter is happy again. All right. So, also, like when you would see like a lightning bolt, that would be attributed to Zeus. Rain, things like that. Everything was attributed. That's how they explained things back then. Seasonal things, weather, all of the above. So some of you may have also heard the phrase before, clash of the titans. So there was a big battle with the titans and the Olympians. So it's a pivotal moment in Greek mythology. It's a great war. It's a conflict because Kronos, as I mentioned, okay, this is why he was trying to get his children. Okay. So fearing that his children would overthrow him, he swallowed each of them at birth. However, Rhea, their mother, managed to save her youngest son, Zeus, who would eventually lead the rebellion against Kronos. So again, perpetuating that family cycle. Did I tell you how Kronos overthrew his father in the first place? I don't think I did. Well, let's talk about that. Okay, so going back to Gaia and Uranus. All right, so eventually Gaia started to hate her husband because he had sent her children away. And if, you think about this, right? Gaia is the planet and Tartarus is like in the core. So like deep in her belly, her children are trapped there. So she hates her husband and hates him and hates him and hates him more. And he's just a terrible, awful, jealous, judgmental, hateful person. And he wants to take all the other titans and put them in Tartarus. So what they do is when he next comes to lay with Gaia, okay, I think you know what I mean, Kronos comes out and uses a sickle and cuts off his scrotum. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word to use. What word do I want to say? All right, anyways, cuts off his scrotum. So that in itself separates the heaven from earth, right? Sky from earth, separating the two, dividing it. And when his, fell in, it fell into the sea. And when it fell into the sea, his last part of his seed, so to speak, turned into Aphrodite. So that's where we get Aphrodite. And then his blood turned into other things, which we will get to a little bit later. But anyways. Oh, okay. Now that you're caught up. So that was Kronos who did that to his dad. Okay. Now Kronos is afraid that his children are going to want to overthrow him in some manner as well. All right, so Zeus leading the rebellion against his father, Kronos. Zeus became the leader of the Olympians, as we know. So we have Hestia, Hera, Demeter, Poseidon, and Hades, the siblings of Zeus, who joined him in the fight against their father, Kronos, again, the ruling Titan, who sought to maintain control over the universe. Okay, wanted to put the rest of his children in Tartarus so no one could challenge him. So other Titans sided with Kronos, including Atlas, also a Titan, who you've seen many, many times holding the world on his back there and stuff, and also Prometheus. So this war, again, according to where you read from, lasted for 10 years, 12 years, culminating in the defeat of the Titans, Kronos. Zeus and his siblings emerged victorious, leading to the banishment of the Titans to Tartarus. The Cyclops then gifted Zeus with his famous thunderbolt, Poseidon with his trident, and Hades with the hat of darkness, helping tip the balance of power. So when the Titans were defeated and sent to Tartarus, Zeus freed the Cyclops and the other 50-headed, 100-handed, whatever the thing was. All right. So it was up to the three brothers to rule in equal parts. So Zeus took sky, weather, home. He was what's hospitality? That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. So if you were not hospitable to a guest in your home, you may have an issue with Zeus. Interesting. So Poseidon, of course, the sea and all the creatures within it. And then Hades, of course, the realm of the dead. So, Zeus. Let's talk about this deplorable, disgusting man. Despicable deity. Super egoic, spiteful, selfish, jealous, childish, toxic, masculine, personified. Gaslighting, manipulating. Essay against animals. Essay against family members. Ick, double ick. Ugh. He marries his sister, Hera, goddess of marriage and birth. Ick again. And they had a bunch of kids. Ick. All right, so if any of you have seen Chaos on Netflix, right? It's spelled with a K, right? Because that's the original god, Chaos. Jeff Goldblum plays Zeus. He's actually super, super great at it. And I think what was really awesome is it's like chaos, right? Chaos theory. And in Jurassic Park, he was a chaotician, right? Dr. Malcolm. So I just found that parallel quite interesting. I did notice that. But yeah, he played him very well. And if you watch that, again, Zeus was always scheming for himself. He was very, 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 very selfish. Very selfish. All right. So they're the kids, okay? Zeus's children. We're going to talk about them. So we have Aletheia, the goddess of childbirth and labor pain. Enyo, another daughter, goddess of war and destruction. She loved war and bloodshed and often worked together with Ares. Okay, so these are the children of Hera and Zeus. Zeus had children with a lot of different, how should I put this? Okay, so a lot of different goddesses, a lot of mortals, creatures, okay? Yeah. Anyways, Ares, Nyx's daughter, depending on where you go for the information, was a goddess of discord and strife, okay? But also, again, depending on where you go, Ares was Zeus's daughter. And then we have Ares, the god of war. He was a son, represented the untamed and violent acts that occurred during war. So, although Ares was famous for being cruel and aggressive, he was also said to be very cowardly. He was very much disliked by the rest of the Olympian gods, including his own parents. They hated him. He's perhaps the most unloved of all of the Greek gods. And then we have Ehi, the goddess of prime life, youth. And then we have Hephaestus, god of fire, blacksmith, known for making weapons for the Olympian gods. He presided over craftsmen, smith, metalworking, sculpture. Then we have Hermes, god of fertility, trade, trickster, messenger, also known as Mercury. Mercury in retrograde right now. Mercury messing with my technology, making it very late today. So thank you, Mercury. Also husbandry, luck, born to Zeus and Maya. Okay, one of the Pleiades. Okay, so Pleiades is a star system, the seven sisters. Okay, so one of them, Maya, is the mother of Hermes. Okay, he was the cleverest of gods, known mainly for his role as the herald of the gods. Okay, so communication, messenger. Then we have Harmonia, which in English is spelt Harmonia. Okay, the goddess of harmony and concord. She was the daughter of Pleiad Electra, so another one of the seven sisters by Zeus. So another kid with another mother. So Harmonia was famous for owning the necklace of Harmonia, which was a cursed wedding gift which brought disaster to many generations of mortals. How lovely. And then we have Helen of Troy, the daughter of Zeus, and Leda, a princess. She was the wife of the king of Sparta. She became famous for eloping with the Trojan prince Paris, which sparked the 10-year-long Trojan War. So, yeah, her fault. And then we have Minos, the son of Zeus, and Europa, another princess. Okay, Minos, who was made king, he chose 7 girls and 7 boys to be sent into the labyrinth as offerings to the Minotaur every 9 years. Ew. Ew. So there's like a pagan similarity with that, with the 9. 9 seems to be an important number every 9 years, right? In Norse tradition too, they all travel to Uppsala every 9 years for rituals too, and there would be certain sacrifices done there. And here, like, that's really creepy. 7 boys and 7 girls sent into this labyrinth, right, for the Minotaur, which is that like half bull, half human, crazy type creature. Ooh, that just gives me the icks with that. Oh, anyways. So he finally became one of the judges of the underworld. Then we have Rhadamithos. He was a Cretan king who later became also one of the judges of the dead. Okay, so also a son of Zeus and Europa. So 2 kids with that one. Okay. And then Persephone. Persephone is his daughter with Demeter. So the beautiful goddess of vegetation and the wife of Hades, the god of the underworld. We have Melinoi, goddess and the daughter of Persephone and Zeus. Ew. Because we just established that Zeus is her father, right? However, in some myths, she's described as being the daughter of Persephone and Hades. So it depends on where you look, all right? So Melinoi was quite frightful looking and wandered the earth at the dead of night with her entourage of ghosts, instilling fear into the hearts of mortals. Nice. Then we have Hercules, also the greatest hero ever to have existed in Greek mythology. I'm sure everyone has heard of Hercules, the son of Zeus and Alcmene, a mortal princess, who became pregnant with him after Zeus seduced her in the form of her husband. Yeah, shape-shifted into her husband to have sex with a mortal. Diabolical. Hercules was very strong, even as a baby. Hera, Zeus's wife, also sister, right? Very jealous. All the sagas, very jealous, very vengeful. Anyways, she placed 2 snakes in Hercules' crib to kill him. But he famously strangled them both with his bare hands, showing his strength. Then there's Perseus, also one of the more famous children of Zeus and Danae, one of the greatest heroes in Greek mythology. He's best known for beheading Medusa and rescuing Andromeda from sea monsters. Ursa, next, the daughter of Zeus and Selene, the moon. She was the goddess of dew. And then we have Podia, the daughter of Zeus and Selene. So another child with Selene. Personification of the moon. Okay, she was the goddess of earth nourishing dew and the full moon. So those two are kind of a little bit intertwined, but like everything that I researched and read, that they're 2 separate deities. So then there was Nemea, a naiad nymph who presided over the springs of a town called Nemea, named after her, in southern Greece. So daughter of Zeus and Selene. So Zeus and Selene, another daughter. Then we have Apophis, son of Zeus by Lo, the daughter of a river god. So this one became the king of Egypt. That's where he was born. And he was said to have been a great and powerful ruler. Then we have Apollo, Zeus, father, with the Titaness Leto, the god of music, light, medicine, and prophecy. When Hera found out about Leto being pregnant with Zeus, she cursed Leto, preventing her from giving birth to Zeus's child. Leto was expecting twins. So anywhere on earth, she could not have them because of Hera, right? So eventually she found a floating island where she delivered the twins. Apollo was the one with one of the most important deities in the Greek pantheon. So, for example, in the Trojan War, he was the one who guided the arrow to Achilles' heel, killing him, right? Because we all know, even if you don't know the story, you have probably heard the phrase Achilles' heel. All right. Artemis was Apollo's twin sister, goddess of archery, the hunt, the moon, and the wilderness. Artemis was beautiful and powerful, also known as a protectress. Oh, my tongue didn't want to get around that word, of young girls. Then we have Athena, Athens, Greece, named after her. Goddess of wisdom, born in a strange way to Zeus. And Metis, okay, so when Metis became pregnant, Zeus found out about a prophecy that he would have a child who would one day threaten his authority and overthrow him. What does that sound like? Zeus was terrified, swallowed the fetus as soon as he knew about the pregnancy. And he killed off Metis. So 9 months later, he began to feel strange pains. He had a terrible headache. So he asked one of the other gods to crack him in the head. And Athena came bursting out, full grown, in armor. Out of all of Zeus's children, his favorite turned out to be Athena, even though he tried to get rid of her in the first place. And then we have the Graces, or the Charities. So these were 3 goddesses of beauty, charm, nature, fertility, and human creativity. They were said to be the daughters of Zeus and the Titaness Eurynomé. Their role was to bestow charm, beauty, and goodness on all young women and spread joy among the people. Then we have Aditis, born when Zeus impregnated Gaia, his mom. Gaia is his mom. The personification of the earth. Ooh. All right, so Aditis was a hermaphroditic, which means she had both male and female organs. However, her androgyny made the other gods fear her because it symbolized an uncontrollable and wild nature. Because of this, they castrated her, and then she became the goddess Cybele. That's awful. Isn't that awful? Like this, this is what I'm saying. If you look at the stories in this pantheon, it's terrible. It's diabolical. Oh, okay. Acus. Zeus and the nymph Aegina. He was the god of justice, and he later lived in the underworld and became one of the judges of the dead. Pan, also known as Goat Pan, goat-legged deity born to Zeus and a goat. Yep, you heard me. Zeus and a goat. Okay. And then Aletheia, the goddess of truthfulness and sincerity, daughter of Zeus, but the identity of her mother remains a mystery. All right. And then we have one of my personal favorites, Dionysus. And if you did see the Netflix series, the actor who played Dionysus was absolutely brilliant. And I'm actually so sad that they didn't renew it because it was really, really great. Anyways, Dionysus is half mortal, half god. Okay, Zeus, his mother, Semele, famous for his debauchery, wine. It's said that he was the only Olympian god to have one mortal parent. When his mother was expecting Dionysus, Hera found out about it and befriended his mother, finally tricking her into looking at Zeus in his true form, which resulted in her instant death. Zeus saved Dionysus, of course, by sewing the child into his thigh and taking him out when he was ready to be born. Oh my good gracious. Hore was the goddess of the four seasons and time. There were three of them. They were the daughters of Themis, the Titaness of divine order, and Zeus, of course. However, according to other sources, they may have been the daughters of Aphrodite. Again, sometimes it gets confusing. All right. And then we have Lita, personification of prayer and ministers. Zeus, dad, often described as a hobbling woman. Okay. Said to be his daughter, but the mother's identity was not mentioned. And then we have the 9 muses, who were inspirational goddesses of literature, arts, and science, daughters of Zeus, again. And Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory. So the muses were conceived on 9 consecutive nights. The Mnemosyne gave birth to them 9 nights in a row. They lived on Mount Olympus with the other deities, entertaining the gods with their singing and dancing. Their main role was to assist the mortals to excel in arts, creativity, and science and philosophy. So there we have it for the moment. The basis of the pantheon. Okay, so yeah, that was a lot. I know. Thanks for hanging with me if you're still here. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the stories pertaining to some of the more well-known gods and goddesses, things like that. I don't really want to talk too much more about Zeus because, like I said, it's disgusting. It really is. Like, do a search and look at some of the stories connected to him. It's, like I said, pretty gross. Pretty gross. Anyways, that's what I have for you today, guys. If you would like to follow me on social media, you can find me at _Miss Merlin. I am most active on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I appreciate you so much. If you wanted to have a personal reading or service with me, you don't have to be in my area. We can do those things remotely. Just hit me up. You can email me at angelic.alchemy11@gmail.com. I will have everything in the description box for you below. My Linktree link, so everything is there for you guys. Everything is there. I love you all so much. Again, thanks for hanging with me. All right. Stay magical. Bye.